Hey everyone, welcome to another recap chat. This is Irene, CBiz Media, Faith, Love, and Trends. All right, the Tell All Part 2. 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows couples. One person's from the US, the other from another country. We watch them navigate the ups and downs of relationship, as well as on top of that, cultural barriers, language boundaries, and the whole legal ramifications of trying to get that K1 visa so they could be man and wife. It's a 90-day process. That's why they call it 90 Day Fiance. The season's over. Tell all part two. This should be the last shebang. I know previous seasons of other iterations of 90 Day Fiance. The 90 Day Fiance universe had like 5 parts, and it was just like excruciatingly long. It was like there was no reason for this. So yeah, just let's just do the two-parters and stop there in the future, please. I hope that they just continue to go back this way. But anyway, taking from last time, Shekinah, Ani, and Amani, they were all arguing. Um, and they continue to argue about the issue of Shekinah asking, is Ani a transsexual? She approached Amani, I believe, in the DMs and asked that question. And some people were saying, is this a rude question to ask? What is this? I think Ani was definitely offended, but Aaliyah speaks up for the trans community and says, it is a weird comment to say to someone because usually when someone asks you that, they may see some masculine features about you. But I was surprised to see Aaliyah wasn't really upset that people were acting offended by this comment. She just said it was weird to ask. And she spoke the truth because most of the time, yeah, that's why people will say that because there's some masculine looking features that you might have. Or not even that. Like, even when I see some drag queens or um, someone that is overly done surgeries, it does make you wonder, what are they, did they just do this? Or did they go through a whole transformation of everything? So like for me also, if you are overly done up, for some reason it makes you look like you could either be in the drag world or um it gives some type of masculine vibe. I can't completely explain. It's like, what are you covering? And even when you just get your body changed surgically, what are you covering? It just seems like something's being covered up. So that's kind of my take on it a bit as well. But Sean kind of stepped in and said, it may not be offensive, but it just wasn't an appropriate question to ask. Um, so then Matt's friend Eric comes out and he was on the show and he's in a throuple situation and he saw the trouble of their throuple in the first place. Things that were brought up, it's complicated, it's hard, is it worth it? They talk about their last fight and basically it was amount of money that Amani never sent Ani. Ani never got the money. It was about $4,000 and she was supposed to be helping her with rent. And then we were all asking the question, why would you break up with someone for money because the money didn't come through? Why would that instantly be a reason for you to break up? To me, it just sounds like an arrangement in the first place. And Sean, that's the Sean that's with Aaliyah, he reacts and says, after looking at the last footage of their fight, when you call this person, you can't turn a what to a housewife, and then talks about the belittles her for dancing and doing exotic dancing. That's where Sean was like, you lost me there, and he started to get emotional that it was just not right to do that to someone. So then they were asking how much altogether, how much money have you gotten, Ani? And Matt says they gave her about 60K altogether, but that doesn't include the family trips and all the other extras included. And Juan said the money is a red flag. The fact that she's wants this money and she'll break up with you if she doesn't get it. I mean, definitely, I think we've all seen that this is a red flag, and even Sean, the host, she's like, is this a scam? Is Ani a scam?" But before that, Juan and Ani kind of have their own little Spanish argument in Spanish where, they caption it for us, but they kind of do their own thing in Spanish and talk it out. She kind of throws him under the bus and says, well, at least I haven't cheated on my person or whatever. Who knows what you do, Ani? We don't really know. Juan and Jessica, they kind of dealt with that situation, so it's not really her place. But you know what the tell all is. Everybody is messy and gets in everybody's business. It's like a golden rule. This is what happens at the tell alls. But yeah, well, just like Sean said, you guys knew it too. Sean, the host, is uh this looks like a scam. Ani looks like a scam, definitely. Most everyone agrees this looks funny and fishy. And basically, a relationship shouldn't be all about money. And even his friend Eric, Matt's friend Eric, agrees. They it's a question asked to Ani, "Are you still dancing?" And Amani's like, "No, because I basically told her I'll put up any money she needs so she doesn't have to. I'm jealous." But she's like, "Yes, of course, I'm still dancing." Um, well, I kind of would say if somebody did offer to put me up, even if they were semi consistent, I would keep my day job. I'm not saying, hey, I would be dancing, but whatever my day job was, I can't totally trust a person, especially you guys are in this unconventional relationship. Marriage is not possible in the throuple. It's like a weird thing they have to do. They have to undo their marriage to do another marriage, and it's really confusing. They're still talking about divorcing each other so they could be a throuple, and she has to remarry her husband, which I think is the rudest thing. I feel like it's um they didn't even really break down that part, but like, why would you let somebody remarry your husband? They can easily minus you out of the situation and you get nothing. To me, that's just makes it no sense. But Amani sounds like she's the breadwinner here. She's the one always saying she's sending the money. I feel like she must be some type of financial mogul. I need to know what the heck she's doing for a living. Anyway, Juan says don't rush, give it a couple years because right now it does look fishy. To me, I'm sorry, I probably would give it no years and be done with this. And I also was wondering, how does Matt feel about this? Is he cool with the divorce? I don't. I think Sean said, thank you for your time or whatever, and wishing them the best, whatever happens. But yeah, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And at the end of the day, we all know that Ani is a fake and a fraud. I mean, we have to know that she's here for money. But then I think about some people, she wants to be validated so much she'll pay for that validation. So on some level, it's like they both know that they're getting something. They're doing a transaction. This isn't a love relationship. She's basically trying to buy love and validation of her sexuality, possibly buying a bedroom toy, which is a human being that they can pull out anytime because she doesn't even have time to be with her own husband. So then they can go pull out Amani anytime. That's what it's going to be like when she lives with them and possibly does this full thing where they live together and have this whole family. I feel like that's what she's going to be. I don't know if Amani isn't fully into sleeping with her own husband. She hasn't even been with Ani by herself with each other alone. I feel like she may have some issue with even being physical with people. Does she even really want that? There may be some even deeper things going on with Amani that she doesn't even understand, because she doesn't seem like she really wants to be in the bedroom with any of these people. And I would, to for Ani, I would feel like I was a thing. I would feel like this is transactional and financial, and I feel like that's all that she feels like it is, and maybe that's all that she wants. I just think their whole situation's a mess. Then there's a break. People start talking, asking about, would you do a throuple? And the two African American ladies here, Joan and Mina's like, no, I'm jealous. I never have a third person in my relationship. I feel like there was a black girl bond there. They were sitting next to each other. They were affirming each other, like, no way, I would never do a throuple. Matt and Ani pull Sarper Shekinah aside. They're just some little messy troublemakers. I think they are trying to dethrone them, as if they are the it couple to me, kind of. They've been there the longest as far as that situation, seniority they have versus those two. They're showing a lot of love to Sarper and a lot of hate on Shekinah. Shekinah just runs off. She's like, I'm done with this. And Sarper's kind of being Switzerland, like he's being very neutral. And Amani's like, and Matt, they have their little puns and pushing at Shekinah. Like, they're so goofy. Like, they're like some middle school little bullies, and it's just annoying and foolish. And I really feel like Matt really needs to shut up. You're a man. Why are you getting into this type of squabble? And for me, he goes check on Shekinah, but Shekinah's like, hey, you didn't defend me. They're basically being jerks. To me, I would have been like Sarper, not really said much of anything, because anything you say is going to be a fuel to their fire. They just want you to jump off on them anyway. They want to fight. They want the attention. That's all they're doing. And for Shekinah to respond by running off, that's exactly what they wanted her to do. To me, her and Sarper both just don't need to say anything and just ignore them, which he'll later say, as they go back on set. They have their little breaks so they can have deeper arguments in the behind stage. They had like 20 breaks, and each time they had a break, whatever happened on stage, they even carried it off stage and had even more of an argument with it. It was kind of goofy and annoying. It was set up. Sometimes the setups here are pretty obvious, and I'm pretty annoyed by it. When they got back on stage, of course, Sean addressed their little argument they had backstage, and Shekinah's big issue was that Sarper wasn't protecting her. And he just basically said ignore them. It's really not even worth it. She thinks he doesn't care about her feelings and all that. She's like, hold on, I love you. Basically, he declares his love for her. So, you know what, let me get something. And he comes back with her ring, her wedding ring and engagement ring, because she previously said they don't even have that. So he's like, it took about half of my savings from Turkey, but I got this ring for you. And they were Matt and Amani was acting like they were happy for them, but she's like, well, I guess everything's good, happy for us now. And then I think Matt said something about till the next problem comes up. Like, would you just shut up, Matt? You're such a girl. Like, to me, Matt is just being messy mad at this point. You're just being too messy. And nobody cares. A messy boy, we don't want to see that. Then they have another random break, and everything is good between Sarper and Shekinah. Amani wants to see the ring, but she's mostly ignored, which is what she deserved. She's annoying. Then they get into Jess and Juan. How are the boys? How's Wyoming? They show the pictures of the boys growing up. Juan says things are tough and he isn't dead. He said back in his country he used to own, property and was working and fixing his property. Now he's basically in debt. Does he have his green card? Yeah, but what have you been doing? Small jobs here and there because it's nothing he really wants to do. So people are like, everybody's thinking you can't just do what you want, sir. Just get a job, get a good job to help your family out. That's all you can do. Which, of course, his mind's on the cruise. Will he ever go back? And Jess says that would be the last resort if there's no other option. Danielle comes out. She's supposed to have some type of connection to them because there's similarities in their story. The only similarity I think is that her man worked in the hospitality industry and flirting and stuff took place just as what happened with Juan, and we know that Juan did cheat, and Jess knows of the information, and they've worked it out their own way. And sadly, Danielle lets us know she worked it out with Johan again. To me, I'm disgusted. The way he treated her and the way he talks to her, the way that he feels like she should be his money bag. He totally disrespected her. I would never be back with a man like that. Juan at least showed some humility, some care, and apologized. He made some steps to say, I won't put myself back in that environment. Sorry, Johan, he would never get a second chance with me. And it's hard for me to give second chances when somebody cheats on me. I don't even know if I would give one to Juan, but I would definitely not give one to Johan. Reed's desperate to me, Danielle. Megan also comes out and gives her 2 cents. Um, she mentioned something about ruining his life if he ever messes over Jess. Is that true? And she's like, yes, that's going to be forever true. And Juan's basically like, stay in your place, step aside. We have our own relationship. If anyone's going to ruin my life, if I mess up, it's my wife, not you. He made some good points. She's too invested, which we said and we saw during the show. To me, she was always too invested. And he just basically tells her to step aside, and she was like, no, be bye. Whatever, Megan. To me, she gives middle school so hard. She fights for her girl like they're in middle school, and you have to be a woman and grow up in these areas and step aside and step back when you need to step back. I will be there for my friend, but I wouldn't be in the middle of their business like that. That's her and her husband, and certain things they're going to deal with, I have no parts of, and to me, I'm fine with that. I don't have to be in every nook and cranny of somebody's relationship. And she has her own marriage. Stay within your own marriage. Maybe you need to look at that, see what your husband's doing, right? And the group kind of agrees with that, and they argue for him. They show the clip where Megan was too invested. She cried when she found out. She nearly went to tears when she found out that Juan did cheat when she confronted him a year ago, and he said no. And then she also finds out that Jess knows about all that, and she was emotionally cheating with someone else. So it said for her, she said the worst part was her friend lied to her and didn't tell her what was going on. Danielle, her take is that lying is worse than cheating, whatever the case. And I don't really totally agree with that. But Danielle does kind of put her in her place, and Megan in her place about crying and being in people's relationships so deeply that it's kind of like not her place. Why did she cry like it was her? That's basically what was asked, and basically, yes, the lie she told her their lie together, they team up lie. Like, they don't owe you anything, Megan. They don't. I'm sorry. There's a certain point to best friending. Danielle says it's between them. As far as his job situation, he's being real picky. Megan said he turned down 50 jobs because they had to kind of be his reference. And Jess, says, it was really about 5 jobs, probably 5 jobs in which he was approached and he just didn't take the job, I assume. So 5 jobs he didn't take that he could have taken, but I guess he just didn't want. Why are they in Wyoming? There's other places they could possibly move. How many tips did he get when he was on the cruise ship? About $100 a day. I mean, that's nice. I mean, that's like you're making $100 a day, but to me, honestly, that you could probably do better, to be honest. I'm sorry. Anyway, People in his DMs, does he respond? There's another question. Sometimes, oh, he's just being nice. So it's a whole issue about don't respond to people in your DMs. You're married now. You don't have to appease anyone. And even Joan and Greg, that's an issue with him. After Juan cheated, she controls his socials. Basically, ignore anyone that goes in your DMs. And Danielle says she now controls Johan's socials as well after his cheating situation. All right, so now Shekinah and Danielle have some type of beef while they're on set. She supposedly messaged Sharper before the show and wished him the best and not her. Then Messy Matt jumps in with his wife Omani. Danielle says she did send sorry about the tell-all, what happened during the tell-all after the fact. It wasn't before. Danielle says that she kind of said that she did an interview. She was getting paid for interviews or something. And basically said Danielle was trash for the streets and she hit on Sarper, which she said was not true. And also she kind of supposedly said, well, Shekinah paid for bots to harass and bully Danielle. And Sean says, should you guys apologize to each other? Both of them said no. And then they just end up saying bye to her. But of course, right after that, they had to have a random break so they could fight more backstage. Then Maddie stands up for her and it's basically saying Danielle, I'm calling her Danny, ganged up on Shekinah. And why are you accusing her of all these things? Everybody's kind of ganging up on her, so Maddie's feeling bad. He said he's not a confrontational person, but he hates liars. Matt jumps in, and I'm like, Matt, would you shut up? He's trying to be a part of this, and he just doesn't fit in doing this type of thing. He's being like a petty female. I'm sorry. This is what he gives. But nah, it just doesn't work, Matt. And Messy Matt's getting on my nerves. He picks an argument with Danielle over the fact that, again, she says she kind of pays for the interviews. I have written down here, someone says she kind of is nasty. I don't know. I think Danielle was telling Stevie to get her husband because he had a lot to say. Amani had to throw her mouth in there too, so I told her to shut up, in my mind anyway. Then, to me, the fight was just so contrived and baseless. And he was pointing his finger across the room. Why did she get up, Danielle, and say, get your finger out of my face? That dude's finger is not all the way that long. He was across the room from you. So how's his finger in your face? Then you run up to him so his finger will be in your face, and you can have an argument with this grown man, probably young enough to be your next husband because you like him young. I'm like, really? Danielle, could you be a grown-up? We're from New York. We're, confrontational. This is what they paid for. I'm sure this is what 90 Day paid for. But it makes you look whack, weak, and not like a woman. And you're a full-grown woman in your middle-aged years now. So just have a little more respect, Danielle. Maybe she's trying to make up for the money that her husband Johan played and overspent on her. And maybe she's getting a bonus. I don't know. But I'm annoyed by this whole little fake fight. So everyone's fighting and Aaliyah's like, this is a circus. I'm eating my food. Danielle and the throuple were coming for Shekinah, and Stevie and Maddie stood up for each other, and I guess in a way for Shekinah. Danielle says, who is she really? She's plastic. She's so plastic. Who is she really underneath that? Whatever, Danielle. And the two of Shekinah and Sarper have a toothbrush party while they're fussing about what's going on. While everyone else is fighting, they go brush their teeth together and fuss about Danielle and the tomfoolery of it all. And some of the other couples just tired of all this fighting. Fake fights, I'm sorry, me too. Now they talked to Mark and Mina, and they're now in Boston, but they still have their place in New Hampshire, but they're open to moving options, like they both love Paris and the south of France, so that's possible. There's a rumor that Mina used to be an exotic dancer, but she says it's really true, but that's not how she met Mark. And Ani says, "Welcome to the club." And then they talk about their stripper names. Sarper says his name was Alex. Mina said her name was Divine. Mina was using her cousin's name. And Alex was also Mina's cousin's, another cousin's name as well. I'm not sure why she wants to use the cousin's name, I guess to throw people off, so people might think it's really the cousin dancing. I don't know. Sean, the hostess, says Alex is not really a sexy name, but Sharper says in Turkey, at the time it was. Matt even admits he used to be a stripper and his name was Hudson. I'm sorry, that name is also like where, why? Divine is probably the best one, but I think Divine belongs in the house of God versus a strip club. But hey, I guess I don't know what she was really going for. And what was her costumes like when her name was Divine? Was she supposed to be heavenly? Anyway, that's going too deep into that. Let's get out of that rabbit hole with the stripper names and costumes and stuff. And now his daughter Jordan comes out. You know they had issues, Mina and her. But she comes out very cordial, nice to both of them. She tells everyone she's engaged. And yeah, she says she initially did have concerns about Mina, but she admits that they were both quick to judge each other. And Mark made the mistake of telling them both the private conversations they had about each other, so he kind of made it more messy. Jordan is pretty cool now. The issue of grandkids versus them having kids and her having kids is still kind of awkward, but she still does a total apology. And they leave us by saying, Mark says, you know what, Mina is pregnant. But when we returned from commercial, it was all fake. She hasn't seen Clayton in 11 months and she's crying and emotional. She says she's missing half her heart. But good news, she just got her green card. Now they can move freely back and forth. And the goal is hopefully to bring Clayton back with them. And it was great to see Jordan. I wasn't mad at her at all. She redeemed herself, I feel. I think they do a lot of things during the show also just to add more tension. So I feel like Jordan may not even be that person. She may not be that girl that's kind of spoiled and trying to stir up trouble. A little bit of comic relief. Sarper gets up and does a stand-up act for him. He basically does the whole thing about a whole throuple situation and the ups and the downs of having two women, plus and minuses. And everyone said it was good. They go see him and it was a good set. But I also feel like we learned something in the interim about, especially guys, having two women is basically not an easy thing. And it's not all fun and games. Unless you ghost them, which is probably what most guys will do. Ghost one or the other. So you don't have to deal with both of them at once anymore. When we get to Sean and Aaliyah, Sean says, I can't do this. He walks off set, but no, he doesn't. He walks over to Maddie and fixes his hair. It was a LOL moment. Aaliyah says when it comes to their marriage that she's adjusting well, but it's been a lot of unexpected change. And Sean says their story is pretty fascinating. Kenny and Armando come up remotely, and the friend Jackie comes out, and she says she comes with love. How different is Aaliyah since the transition is what is asked of Jackie, and basically she says that Aaliyah is more outgoing and kind of a spitfire and all of this, and this is like who Aaliyah was always meant to be, this person, and that's kind of what everyone says. And everyone's happy for Aaliyah finding themselves. Sean admits that he did have a honeymoon by himself. He left for a month, had a mini vacation hanging out with his friend, and he did say he was mad and he held a grudge for months after what happened at the wedding. He does blame Jackie for the late arrival while his mom was hurt, and she said, I did keep giving time checks. And Kenny was like, things happen at weddings. Usually, he said their wedding was an hour late, and he said Aaliyah is probably not gonna get out of that makeup chair until she fully looks finished and looks the way she wants to. That's how it goes with brides. I say, most people say it doesn't have to be a bridezilla, but yeah. Aaliyah says, I take full responsibility. Don't blame Jackie. I got kind of frozen when I found out the mom wasn't got hurt. I wasn't sure if the wedding was going to continue, but after I recovered and started getting ready again, time was kind of really flying by. So kind of basically lost track of time and got stuck after finding out mom got hurt. We find out they're in an open marriage and he has slept with someone else. Aaliyah has preferred not to do so yet. Is still trying to adjust to transitioning into this new body. And Aaliyah, when asked, Aaliyah does say that she believes Sean prefers male bodies. And the process of changing and physically in their bodies and stuff, and they feel awkward about everything, and physical touch is their love language. So it's just kind of a awkward time for them as they're going through this transition. Is Sean sexually attracted to Aaliyah? And he's saying, well, he doesn't know how this is all going to play out. And they're talking about, well, will Aaliyah get that full transition that will change his anatomy completely? And that's like the thing that Sean is hanging on to see if he still wants to be physically with this person. I don't know. Basically, he did say, this isn't the person that I fell in love with sitting next to me anymore. But when asked, he does say he loves Aaliyah and will be there for them forever. Aaliyah wrote a text and shared this text about, how close they were and how things are different and they're not the same as they were. And it was kind of emotional and poetic, and everyone was crying. Even Matt tears up. He does apologize for his attitude at the wedding. Amani apologizes to Sarper as everything comes to a close. They're all having kind of dinner together, and Amani tries to friend everyone after she ran everyone off at first. Now she's trying to friend everyone. Stevie and Shekinah aren't really having it. They don't really want to talk with them. And she says 2 couples rejected us, but Greg and Joan did give them a hug and say goodbye to them. Everybody has their own unfinished business in their marriages and relationships, but they continue on, and we'll see how things play out. But Matt doesn't know about his future with Ani. He's committed to his wife Amani. He doesn't know if Ani's really worth the divorce. He cares about her, but he says, she basically has a lot to prove in order for them to go through this divorce and try to have this new family dynamic together. And he's committed to his current wife. So he doesn't know how it's all going to play out. All right, so I kind of got a little closure on how Matt feels. But that's the end of the tell-all, guys. Really, when you look at Sean and Aaliyah's situation, it's like he has an easy way out because they have an open marriage, basically. They can go out on each other if they want and still live in the same home together. I mean, to me, Sean really has the best of both worlds, especially as he ages. I know sometimes people marry partially because they'll have somebody to look out for them, and he has a much younger person there to look out for him. And if they look out for each other, they're pretty much going to be good either way, and they can always have relationships outside of their marriage. To me, I think that's kind of the easy way out scenario. Everybody doesn't walk that walk. I guess the throuple is a little bit similar, but they're only committed to one other person, while they can just have full relationships on the side without the other partner even. I guess they'll be aware, respectfully. I'm sure they'll tell each other, but they can just have full lives together without their other partner. So that's something that can solve a lot of problems when it comes to Sean not knowing if he wants to sleep with Aaliyah. He kind of doesn't have to. He already has someone he already had on the side, and I won't say he had on the side, but he has somebody waiting in the wings. He may have other people. He may be out there with everybody who knows what Sean's doing, but he's doing what he does. And I don't know. I can't really call that a marriage. I really feel like that's more of an arrangement situation. But that's it. That's their choices. That's 90 Day Fiance. And we're going to talk more faith, love, and trends right here on CBiz Media. I will talk to you guys next time. Thoughts, comments, questions, email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. Check us out on our other platforms at cbiztvmedia.com. All the best, and God bless.